To all the members of South Glengarry's Environment Committee. Welcome also to members of the public who will watch the recording of this meeting, as we had some technical difficulties to live stream it at the same time. So this is our meeting of August 1st. So if I could have a mover and a seconder to open the meeting. I could have. Great. So moved by Michael, seconded by Martin. Thank you very much. I haven't done this in a while, so now I'm asking, I don't think there's anyone who's opposed, and I don't think I need to ask that. All right. So the next item is to approve our agenda for today's meeting. Belinda was kind enough to circulate that in advance. So did folks have any things that they had any issues with the agenda or anything they wanted changed? Okay, great. I'll ask for a mover and a seconder again, please. Okay, so moved by Rebecca, seconded by Aidan. Is anybody opposed to adopting the agenda? Thank you. All right. Next one is our minutes of our Friday, May 26th meeting, when we had the pleasure, and it was a real opportunity to visit our landfill sites and get really a hands-on appreciation for that very important part of the township's infrastructure. So again, those were circulated in advance, and we did have a meeting after the tour as well, where we dealt with a number of items. So did anyone have any comments or concerns about the minutes, or if they saw anything that needed to be added or corrected? I don't see any hands. Okay, great. All right. Well, then if I could have a mover and a seconder to approve the minutes, please. Okay, moved by Michael. Seconded by Rebecca. Is anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Okay, great. Thank you, everybody. Okay, so the first item that's there's not routine on our minutes is you'll notice it's called strategic plan input. And so this was something that I wanted to have on our agenda because typically at the beginning of every term, the Township of South Glengarry has a strategic planning session where we focus in on our goals, main priorities for the term. And currently our strategic planning session is scheduled for October. And if, based on our meeting planning, we have our next meeting would be September 26th, I believe it is. And so I was kind of hoping that, I wanted to bring this up now so that at our next meeting, we might be able to have a little bit of a discussion on if there's anything that this committee would like to provide as input to council with respect to strategic planning. Obviously, looking at particularly from a lens of what our committee works on, specific to, waste diversion, more general environmental topics. So I just wanted to set the stage for that. I didn't really want it to get into a big discussion. I wanted to, if we were going to have a discussion, I'd like to have it at the next meeting. And Sarah was kind enough to have at the ready some if she could share her screen of sort of some of the information from previous strategic planning. Again, this is just to give you like a sense of what it is that we, what it is. So if you wouldn't mind flipping to the next slide. So this is the current one that we have now. And, this is, again, sort of the motherhood statements about what's the purpose of a strategic plan. And, when you do these sessions, you talk about your strengths, your opportunities, and your challenges and your risks. So, that might be something that, we want to add to, like, what are concerns about strengths or risks, from our perspective. And our current, vision statement for the township, and this, I believe, has, stayed consistent for a few terms now, is that we're a historically unique and proud community committed to an innovative future. And then the mission statement, which again has stayed consistent for some time now, is that, the Corporation of the Township of South Bend-Gary is committed to excellence in the efficient delivery of municipal services in a fiscally responsible manner that maximizes the quality of life of our unique community and residents. And then, these are our values. Again, these have not changed. And then there's a bit more detail. And so this is really more like, typically there'll be like 5 main goals, strategic goals that come out of these exercises. And the current ones are the ones that you see on the screen. And, they're often similar from term to term, but there are some tweaks. And so like economic growth and prosperity focused a lot about opportunities to improve, connectivity, natural gas, that sort of, so probably not so relevant to what we're doing. But when it comes to infrastructure and sustainability, definitely landfill, environment, waste pickup, that is, those are topics that could potentially fit into, this type of goal. And so it might be where we might want to, provide some input. And another one in the past was strengthening the effectiveness and efficiency of our organization. So again, that, things that these are I guess I'm trying to give you like the flavor of what, what might there be. And you'll probably see that there really wasn't much about what our committee does in terms of waste and recycling or environment, or not much focus. So again, something to think about, because definitely landfill and the change to the, the blue box and that going to producer responsibility, those are going to figure highly for the future. Whether they make it to a strategic plan level is, undetermined, but I think it's something that we should discuss in our committee maybe next time, and see what kind of input we might have. And another thing that we had that informed our strategic plan last time, that we will have a version of this time, is we did a survey to the public. And I think after our last meeting, I shared that survey with all the members of the Environment Committee. But, and Sarah, did you say you had the Pulse of the Township survey at hand? From the past one? If you're able to share it, great. If not, I can speak to it.
I can send it to her right now.
Okay. Yeah. So this was the survey that would have been done in the last time. And again, it was about trying to gauge what was important to residents. And you can see, like, in terms of, importance, what's important, waste collection and recycling collection, in the past were very high, fairly quite high. If you look at, the items, you got fire service, winter maintenance, road maintenance, competitive tax rate, and then waste collection and recycling collection. So they are definitely on residents' minds. And, when you look at like the top 3 important, it goes down a bit. But again, in terms of, historical interest of residents in the, in the importance of waste and importance of recycling is fairly high. So we'll have something similar to this, next time. And another, and this is a good one that Sarah's stopped on here, is in terms of satisfaction. The satisfaction in the past with waste collection was very good. And recycling collection was also like a top 5. So again, it'll be interesting to see where that data shakes out this time. And again, it can help inform strategic planning for the next 4 years. So I think those were the main items. I forget the one that you have on right now. This is items that stood out throughout the satisfaction component of the survey. So very high, a high number, being high on the list. So like having a 10, my understanding is that means 112 people gave waste collection a 10 in terms of their satisfaction. So then, yeah, and then this is for more the day. So I think we can leave that one there. So thank you so much, Sarah, for doing that. I really appreciate it. And so this is, again, I just wanted to kind of give folks a flavor so that, you know, maybe so that ideally I would like in September to talk about this so that we can provide some feedback to council. So I'm wondering if folks here have any comments on that or information that they might like to have prior, or yeah, just kind of, I'm open to comments or suggestions. Michael?
Just as far as the strategic planning part goes, I'd be amazed if waste management becomes one of the items in the strategic plan. Obviously, it depends on what way council decides to go with it, but for the most part, we're all just sort of beholden to what's happening with producer responsibility, right? Just kind of pay attention and see how it goes. One thing that may figure in there, and we've talked about this in the past, part of it is what Martin had mentioned a couple of times at the last meeting about cost of closure, because obviously we're going to have to move towards landfills being closed, and then what comes in the future. It's something that is, I'm going to say, probably beyond, well, it is beyond this term of council, but it's maybe part of the budgeting becomes something that can pay attention to for this term of council as far as reserves. But yeah, I'm not sure how much of this would actually come into play for strategic planning.
Okay. Sarah, did you want to say something?
I do. I'll give my pitch from administration. So thank you for that. I would love to see something about solid waste management in our next strategic plan, because as staff, it gives me something to jump off of whenever I'm requesting funding or prioritizing my time. So it's really not in the strategic plan. It's difficult for me to say that it's important. I know that it's important. I know that we need to do it, but advancing solid waste management, improving our landfills, doing more diversion activities, like it's hard to justify to council the expense for any of these initiatives if it's not part of the strat plan. And I do believe that the next 4 years will be very focused on solid waste management as we move to producer responsibility, and in South Glengarry as we're figuring out what we're doing with our landfills moving forward and maybe trying to become more sustainable in a more broad sense. So I think one of the topics on the agenda is recycling bins in our public facilities, and like that would all tie in to how do we make this something that South Glengarry wants to focus on for 4 years and allow staff to focus their time on it. So and it's really not like you'd said, not up to me administratively, but the will of council, and you are a committee of council, so your voice may weigh some weight. So, and from the administration level, I hope that something comes through, because it does give us, like I said, that springboard to bring ideas forward and say, hey, this is important to us, and it's been identified as important for the next, I suppose, 3 years now, but that's how I look at it. So thank you.
Thanks, sir. Anybody else? Enthusiasm for strategic plan. I mean, certainly if folks have, thoughts about this after the fact, or, if they want to reach out to me directly, that's fine too. And we can see if this is, our agenda gets developed closer to the date. So, we can see what's the appetite for the committee to have that discussion. But thank you for the time to show you sort of what I'm thinking of. And I do look forward, if anyone had any other comments that they'd want to share, that'd be great. Okay, so if there's no other comments. So another item that I had I touched on last time, and I asked to have the add on the agenda today, was the topic of waste and recycling collection on municipal property. And so, and I guess I can kind of share, maybe I can share my screen with some photographs of, like some folks might know that I do travel a lot, and oh, I guess I can't share my screen. So thank you. Yeah, that works too. So I travel a lot, and here are just like I mean, I actually have more photos. I didn't want to bombard Belinda with lots of pictures. But so these are two examples of, you know, an indoor event garbage bin that I came across. And then the one on the left is at a park in Montreal where my kids played rugby. And you can see on one side it's garbage, and on the other side it is recycling. And so these are things that I see. And I have a couple of other images. I don't know if maybe I can put them through. I don't know if I probably can't send a file. Are you able to allow me to share my screen? I don't know if it'd be Casey or Sarah who can do that.
It would be, oh, well. I think Casey, since she is the master holder of the Zoom meeting.
Perfect. All right. So let's see if that works now. So do you see the, yeah, there's my, I don't know why that's up there, but it is. So you see there's probably the same picture that you would have just seen a moment ago. And then another image that I want, like, so this is, you know, something that, you know, it's more elaborate than, you know, we have in terms of even our recycling collection here. But this is like, you know, a township that has, you know, outdoor bins that have items that, you know, can be, you know, little windows where they can update information. Then this one here where there's it's, you know, these are like kind of the standard kind of recycling and large size recycling and garbage bins that, you know, you might see that, you know, some jurisdictions can like pick up directly with a machine that has a picker. But they also have like an information kind of post. And some of these I've even seen with like QR codes where it like links people back to like Recycle Coach or, you know, other sources of information. And then last but not least, because of our hops, we've done a lot of stuff with UVM because they do, they're very advanced in terms of hop growing in on the eastern side of the continent. And this is sort of a setup that I've seen at some of their, the UVM, the university, their events. And I'm bringing that up too, because we do have a lot of outdoor events again, also in our township. So those are examples of things that sort of I've seen that sort of like, oh, those are, you know, I could, and where I'm going with this is, again, you know, we are asking residents to limit their bags of garbage. We're hoping to encourage people to recycle. And I think it makes sense for the township to be a leader on this, whereas a lot of our buildings are not particularly well equipped today, and our parks either, from like a recycling or waste collection. Most of them, outdoors and indoors, are predominantly just waste. And I guess I know that Sarah, you did some work on that in terms of sort of what's the actual situation, so that it's not just my idea or what I've observed, but something a bit more factual. And if you want to add on that.
I can, and I the full credit to Kian, Joshua, and Belinda, who are with us tonight. Kian and Joshua being our summer students, and Belinda, our infrastructure coordinator. So they went around and they photographed and inventoried all our exterior garbage and recycling receptacles. And we went into as many buildings as we could get access. And I'm going to really quickly share my screen, but not leave it shared for too long, because that's not something I really want. I suppose people can just screenshot these days, eh? Here we go, guys. So here's a list of the locations that we looked at. Did I get the right screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So garbage and recycling, garbage, recycling, garbage. You get the gist of it. And we have photos of some of our, so this is the Optimist Club area. It's just a bin. Our main streets kind of look like this. So it's garbage only. Glen Walter Park does have a bit of recycling, but they're not uniform. So they kind of bounce around. And at the arena, so Charlotte Recreation Center, we do have these sort of receptacles. So as Stephanie says, it's not uniform, it's kind of a mishmash, and we certainly aren't leading the charge in recycling in our public spaces. That is definitely exterior public spaces. But we could.
Yeah, so, and again, I'm looking at it from a standpoint of, it's small stuff, but again, leading the charge linked into, if I obviously do think that solid waste management is something that is going to be taking up a lot of our attention and potentially, could be a, big impact financially to the township. I feel like this fits into trying to have like a lead in that or have, try to start improving in that vein. So based on what folks have seen, I'd love some comments. So I saw Rebecca put her hand up. So please, what
Sure.
would you like to say?
I definitely think that color coding and, putting like an infographic is a huge win. But I guess I also wanted to mention that what I'd also like to see is not just like our standard day-to-day garbage and recycling pickup and bins and such, but also when we host events. Like I remember last year at the Williamstown Fair, it's not always up to par. And I think, Martin, maybe it was you, you were talking last year at the council meeting after the fair, you had a pickup crew, and maybe I'm getting it wrong here, but I just remember that there weren't that many places that you could go to. And so not just looking at like your day-to-day municipal operations, but also when we're hosting these big events.
I'll just jump in on the fair comment. So that is not hosted by the township. That is run by the Williamstown Fair Board. The township does provide support. So we do collect the recycling at the end and provide them with complimentary hauling and processing fees. And I really don't know if the township can impose a requirement on, I suppose we could as a requirement of our providing this service in kind, that they would be required to up their game. But administratively, I'm not a lot I can do without some form of agreement, I'd think.
And anyone else? Go ahead, Mike.
Hopefully everybody can hear me.
Yeah.
Good. Just going back to Sarah's comment about the Williamstown Fair, that is true, not a township hosted event, but it could be requiring or encouraging, those types of events to have basically to have a plan, a recycling plan, if you will, or a waste collection recycling plan. Could be phase 2 if phase 1 is getting the township getting its own act together, in terms of having a standard. Thanks, Sarah. Thumbs up. I love it. Having the encouraging other places, especially those that the township does support and endorse, to that might be phase 2. That's all I have to say.
No, that's great. Thank you. That makes sense. Michael?
Just a quick thought, going back to the pictures that you showed, the ones with at the festival with the wire frame, right? Clear plastic bags, clearly labeled tops would be maybe if the municipality acquired some of those that were made available to events, whether it be the Williamstown Fair, whether it be any other event that goes on in the municipality, especially those that are being supported by the municipality as far as a pickup. It might be a pretty easy way to, as was said, pick up the game and sort of, make it easy for people to participate, easily and accurately.
Thanks, Michael. Anyone else? So, does anyone have strong feelings against trying to improve these things? I think it's, yeah, no, okay. I just, because maybe in the minutes, maybe that's how, maybe we could proceed on this one is with when it comes either to strategic planning or like, and in terms of providing this kind of feedback to council, either it could be if we provide some input to strategic planning, or it could be just through our minutes that end up going to council. You know, we could document some of these thoughts maybe in the minutes and then pull those for council. Unless Belinda or Sarah, you have a suggestion, a different approach.
No, I was going to suggest that maybe we support you folks with writing up an info report separately to the agenda, and we can throw in some of the photos and thoughts behind it, and then it would be captured on its own, and councillors could pull that if they wished and send us along our way if they choose.
Okay, yeah, I mean,
yeah, like a
I know
separate
what you mean.
info.
No, yeah. But if as long, I mean, that's better. I just didn't want to suggest.
Oh, we have the photos and the inventory. We're ready to go. So perhaps we'll take that back with Belinda and I, and we'll
Okay.
bring it forward to you folks. And we can maybe administratively thumbs up, thumbs down it over the next 2 months.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we bring something from the committee, does the committee then have to look at it in a committee meeting? Procedurally, I don't know.
I mean, I think not. I mean,
Probably not.
no, I don't think so. Because I mean, in the end, in this case, it's a staff putting together the info report. So we don't approve what you're doing.
No,
If we
I
want-
would put your name on it too.
Yeah,
I
sure.
would probably say prepared by Environment Committee.
Okay, I mean, if you maybe then just maybe circulate it ahead of time, just so folks know what's ahead of time. But I mean, I think we're kind of giving, I mean, it's not the same as council, but I kind of feel like we're giving direction. So I don't think in terms of putting together a report, I guess I don't feel like we
No,
necessarily have to.
we're here to support you to suggest things to council. So I think this would be an appropriate thing for us to do. I mean, if you'd said go out and change all the bins, no, but a couple
Yeah.
hours of our time, no big deal.
Okay, great. No, that sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I guess like probably the chair, maybe then you just like you can send it to the whole committee, but probably just the chair and vice chair probably just have to say it's good to go, I guess.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Okay, thanks everyone. So the next item is solid waste management bylaw. So
Okay. So I know this is coming out of the blue, and administratively, this is just something we've been working on, and we don't have a specific timeline, and we don't want to rush it through. But we do not have a bylaw that I could find for our solid waste management. And it's difficult when people ask why we do things, and it's really just because it says so on the website, which is fine. But in terms of future proofing, it's a bit tough. So if suddenly my position or I'm gone and Belinda's gone, well, then how do we transfer that knowledge forward of the what and the why? And a bylaw is an excellent way to do that. And so what I've done, and I'm going to ask Kian to come on screen, since he is the person who actually did most of the work on this. So we reviewed, so Kian again is our summer student. He's studying poli-sci, I believe, in a University of Ottawa. So he was the perfect person. So we went and we reviewed a number of the different solid waste management bylaws out there and kind of drafted up something that we cobbled together from folks who had come before us. So this actual bylaw I know is quite scary. It's, whoops, 18 pages, lots of words. And what we're really looking for is to give you an introduction, the committee an introduction today. And then maybe over the next 2 months, think about your feedback. And if you have any, we can either receive it written in advance of the next meeting or at the next meeting. And we kind of want to get a feel, is this too much, too little? Do we have do you think it's a good idea? And then we'll go from there. Again, like I said, we don't have a timeline, so we're not pressured. We don't have a bylaw. It's just something that I think would be a really good idea moving forward. So Kian, I'm going to try and, oh my goodness, I'm gonna hit F5. There we go. So Kian, just tell me when to move the screen.
Okay, so this is just a little bit of information on the, I guess, draft of the bylaw that I've been working on. So you can go. So doing research, I figured out that South Glengarry is really one of the only municipalities in Ontario that doesn't have a bylaw for solid waste management. And it's it's an important thing to have because it sort of makes official all of the rules and the regulations that we currently have in place. And it ensures that it's like a guideline sort of for the operation of our solid waste, like for our landfills and things of that nature. Next. So this just, the bylaw provides some information about our waste disposal sites. It just discusses what's allowed to be dumped there. It lays out the hours of operation. It does not have the fees because, well, they're not official. So they're on the website, but they might change in the future. So it's not in the bylaw.
I'll jump in there. I said to leave them out since we're hoping to bring forward a comprehensive fee bylaw. Definitely coming soon, and it's been coming soon since I got here. So for sure by 2025.
And yeah, it just it will ensure that the township can operate all of its waste disposal sites efficiently and ensure that the most amount of waste possible is diverted away from the landfills to ensure that they can stay open as long as possible. You can go next. So this is just the Schedule C. It's what's allowed to be disposed of in the landfill. It's not comprehensive, like it's not everything that can be disposed of, but it's just sort of a general list of some common things that would be disposed of at the landfill. If you have any questions or any suggestions, just feel free to stop me and I can try my best to answer. This is Schedule D. This is what is not allowed to be disposed of at the landfill. It's just chemicals, medication, pathological waste, things of that nature. So this is a little bit of information on our recycling pickup. And in the bylaw, it also provides some information about the producer responsibility, which is we're going to be converting by January 2025. The township will no longer be responsible for the collection of recyclable materials. That will be under the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act. So the bylaw outlines that. And it also outlines the acceptable containers, what's allowed to be set out for recycling as well, and the schedule for recycling, I believe. These are the standards for the collection of garbage. It just outlines how big the garbage bags or how heavy they can be, sorry. What the standards for the garbage bins or the containers, as well as some of the prohibited material that you cannot set out for collection. This is what the bylaw defines as household hazardous waste. So propane tanks, batteries, pool chemicals, and white goods, so appliances with Freon in them. And electronic waste as well is also defined in the bylaw. And these are what our large items are. This more applies to the large item pickup day. This is the exemptions. So we provide exemptions for households that generate excessive waste due to medical conditions. There's residents can apply and they will receive extra bag tags to accommodate for the excess waste that they produce. There's also a special consideration for households that produce diapers, as long as they are in clear garbage bags. In conclusion, this bylaw puts into writing and it makes official a lot of the rules and the regulations that we have that are just sort of, they're not made official anywhere, they're just on the website. There's no real, like, again, there's no official document for the rules. A list of clearly defined rules and regulations will help ensure that all residents are aware of the standards and what they're allowed and not allowed to do when it comes to waste collection, and ensures that there's an official document that we can point to when people have any questions or any kind of disputes or anything like that. And if you have any feedback or questions, please let us know. Thank you.
All right, I'm going to jump in at the end. So how the bylaw, we set it up is it's got the beginning bit, which is pretty general, all of the point provisions. And then it's separated into schedules. So if something needs to be updated in the future, you pull the schedule out and you update that. So you're not updating the entire bylaw. So that's why it's longer-ish, because we have the schedules by what they would be. So as an example, if we were to currently, and a lot of these things are not just because we said so. We have an ECA that governs the landfill, so they tell us what can and cannot be in there. And there's some things that we may choose as a municipality to not accept in above and beyond what our compliance allows us. So at a minimum, this has what we are really not allowed to per the Ministry of Environment, Conservation and Parks, MECP. And then in terms of collection, a lot of our constraints in how we can receive material curbside is related to our trucks. So this is just constraining through a bylaw how we can receive material, because our trucks just simply can't, we can't pick up big bins because we don't have the lever arm. If in the future we write a collection contract and we suddenly can accept that lever arm, then we change our bylaw and we change the waste collection part. If we choose to change how, weekly recycling, I guess it wouldn't be that, but if someday we go towards every second week garbage, we could do that through just changing that schedule. So it's a lot of words that allow us to in the future pull out a schedule, update it, and then just amend that one bit without amending the entire bylaw. So that's a bit about how it was set up. And like I'd mentioned earlier, we don't need full comments right now, but we are definitely, this is something we'd like to work towards and have in some way, shape or form, whether it's just, 18 pages or something more or something less to be determined. This is a pretty big bylaw. So I know it's just putting into words what we're already doing, but it definitely deserves some pretty good consideration out there. And thank you so much to Kian for doing all the heavy lifting.
Thank you, Kian. It's quite the project. So thank you for doing that. So I'll open it to members of the committee. If anyone, I know it's just a first time looking at it. I don't know if folks had anyone wanted to share anything off the top. Mike Sagan, I saw, go ahead. Yeah. I figured you came on camera to say something.
I did. I have to say, I didn't realize there wasn't a bylaw in South Glengarry. So when I saw the draft, Madam Chair, I thought it was an update or changes to an existing bylaw, not a new one. So yeah, hats off to Kian for a great presentation, putting that together. As some of you know, that was my bread and butter, doing enforcement with the Ministry of Environment. And the township definitely needs a bylaw if you're going to have standards that you might have to adjudicate at some point or have to defend at some point. So I think this is time well spent.
Okay, thanks, Mike. Go ahead, Rebecca.
Thank you. I guess I had two questions. One was whether there's any thoughts on whether under section 2.4 of the holidays, like National Truth and Reconciliation Day is kind of making its way through municipalities as, a day of observance, and more municipalities are having the day off. And I don't think it's hit like the private sector yet, but I was just wondering if that was taken into consideration for no curbside collection. And then my other question was with regards to and maybe I just didn't see it, but the 2 free entries to the landfill site that we currently have this year. And I think last year we had something different, if memory serves correct. But whether that's in the bylaw anywhere, and you could just point me in the right direction if there is. Thank you.
Excellent. So I'll answer the first question while Kian figures out the answer to question 2. So yes, we had some back and forth on the holidays, because the Township of South Glengarry does recognize, I believe, Truth and Reconciliation Day, and it is one of our stat holidays municipally for a municipal office. It was really tough And so what we did this time was, I believe we grabbed it from the existing collections contract and then TBD and changed when the contract changes. There are some on here that are incredibly tough, like Good Friday, for example, and Easter Monday. So we now municipally recognize Easter Monday. That's new this year also. You know, we have it off and some people have it off and some people don't, but it's not a stat holiday federally. So and the collections contract and the current collections calendar didn't have that as like a bump day. So in this, we really took the 2023 calendar and what's in that collections contract and put that into writing, but that doesn't mean that it can't be changed to align with that. I think we would arrange it to align with when our municipal offices are closed. So I think we have 11 stats right now. And they're not necessarily aligned with the federal holidays. So it's that give and take. Not a great, definitive yes for the future, but I would hope to one day, and operationally, since Belinda receives most of our missed waste calls, it's incredibly helpful if collections is not running on days when we're not here. So if it aligns with us operationally, 2 thumbs up. Just tough to do mid-contract or mid-year, I guess.
So about the 2 free landfill days, I didn't put that in the bylaw because I'm not sure if it's necessary, but I'm not sure if it's something that we plan on doing long term, because if you put it in the bylaw, I'm not entirely familiar, but I think it would be more difficult to change or like get rid of in the future if you decide to make it in the bylaw, if you decide to make it official and put it in the bylaw.
Thanks, Kian. I'm pretty sure this current council would probably want that in the bylaw. But all right, I think Martin, did you put your hand up? Yeah, go ahead.
Thanks, Stephanie. Kian, thanks for putting this together. Good job. I had a question about, and I don't know the answer exactly, but whether we want to be a little more plain under 2.8 entitlement to service. It says we'll only required to do waste collection service for residential dwellings. Give some examples. Industrial, commercial, and institutional shall not receive waste collection service. We have a lot of farms in this community, and we might want to kind of be clear in there whether we're going to pick up at farms or not. I know a lot of them can take the waste, and just put it out with their household waste. But I think at the moment, I'm pretty sure unofficially, we're kind of providing 2 bags for the farm, 2 bags for the house sort of thing. But we might want to have something in there saying exactly what we do intend to do.
That is an excellent point.
Go ahead, Aidan.
I got 2 comments, sort of questions, I guess. Thanks for putting it together. I don't want to be picky, but I thought last year, did we not have a big discussion about the clear bags for privacy concerns for diapers? I thought we had something about elderly people and trying to hide any or trying to maintain some big privacy or whatever.
I think as it pertain to exemptions, I think we discussed about folks with medical exemptions, and if my memory serves. But are you referring to a specific section in the bylaw?
Section 2.10, it says disposal of diapers shall be exempt from the weekly bag limit and must be placed in a clear garbage bag.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I'll just step in. So if they do the medical exemption, they get bag tags. So that would go in your regular standard black garbage bag. And I think the diapers are more surrounding for children. So maybe we could just word that a little bit differently to be a little clearer.
No,
Yeah,
I understand your point, Aidan. If once you are of advanced age, older than anybody here by decades, probably like 50 decades, guys, that you may have incontinence issues and require diapers ongoing, and that to Aidan's point would be perhaps embarrassing if your neighbors saw it. However, we haven't received calls about that. And for our collection crew, when they to know what's in that, to allow an extra bag, we need to be able to see what's in it, which is why it's clear. So we see a bag of diapers, it's on top of the 2. And you'll be excited by some of the stuff coming forward from some of our neighboring municipalities on clear bags. Woot woot.
And I'm guessing when it comes like what Belinda said, for medical exemption, they get a bag, it's a black bag. But when it comes to like children's diapers, clear bag, and then they wouldn't have to go through the medical exemption process, right? They could just do it short term, depending how long kids are in diapers. Some of us, it was longer than others. But then they wouldn't have to go through that process. So I don't know, maybe Aiden, do you think from like, I'm thinking from if we're talking about little kids and diapers, that it's not so much of a privacy concern, but I don't know.
Yeah,
For you,
I
if
don't
it's
see that as
specifically
being a major issue. It was more of the elderly population or other people, anybody who has issues or whatever.
Yep. Mike, did you want to add something?
And then on to my other
Oh,
question.
sorry,
if
you
there's
had,
nothing else
I'm
to say.
sorry, go ahead, go ahead.
No worries. What is white goods? At Schedule B, Section A, letter L, it just says white goods. What does that mean?
White goods usually just means appliances, things like fridges,
Oh, okay.
microwaves. It doesn't really apply as much now because they're not, white as much anymore. But yeah, it just means fridges, freezers, things like that nature.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
So maybe large household appliances is the word now, maybe. Okay, thanks, Aiden. Sorry, Mike Sagan, did you come off because you wanted to add something?
No,
All right.
just, I'm going in and out because I have allergies and I'm rubbing my eyes a lot. That's why. I
Oh,
keep-
sorry. Sorry about that. Well, I'm glad that folks had we had lots of comments about a bylaw, which is on garbage. I'm a little sad there weren't as many comments about waste and recycling collection containers, but that's okay. Did anyone else want to say something about the bylaw before we move on to Great, thanks, everybody. Okay, so the next item was just kind of a placeholder. We talked in our inaugural meeting that things that we want to keep on the agenda to touch base on are our 2023 focus areas, which are the transition to producer responsibility in terms of recycling, organics, and general landfill management. So I don't know if maybe Sarah, I know from the regional waste group, if you, maybe you have an update there to share with the committee.
I do. I'll give my 3 updates for these 3 topics and then I'll pop off the screen. So we had our regional waste management meeting just this morning. So this is a very timely meeting. And one of the things that we had the communications coordinator for the counties come and meet with us. We kind of talked a bit about how regionally we might want to move forward with communicating and what services may be provided and all that good stuff. And he had some good input. Right now we're in this really area of uncertainty, so our messaging can't be very specific. And he thinks that likely in January, so we think as a committee that we likely won't have really concrete answers until next year. So kind of 365 days from now, we're expecting that our contracts will be filled and then we'll find out how things will work in South Glengarry at that time. So that's a long way out to be in this really awkward, uncertain environment. So what Todd is going to do, Todd Lee, who he's the communications coordinator, he's going to prepare us a communications plan and bring it to our next meeting. And it will likely involve starting a monthly communication schedule in January 1, 2023, which would give us a full 12 leading up. And I think he was going to propose a few other, not, I want to say depot style, but that's for waste collection, but where people congregate together and public information centers, those things. Oh my goodness. So that's kind of the update. We had a robust discussion on many things, but specific to producer responsibility. That was our big point was, and the counties, since this would affect all 6 townships and be a true regional approach, we're going to see if the counties could fund anything above and beyond. So it would, it still comes from the taxpayers, but at least we have a wider pool of people to help pay for broader communications. We also checked the recent, and this is interesting because all this time I've been giving you bad information. I've been saying all of Eastern Ontario is transitioning in 2025. That is not true. We checked the list today, and it turns out that the United Counties of Prescott and Russell all transitioned 1 month ago. So that's exciting, and we don't know how or why, but we're reaching out to see how it's going for them. And the city of Castleman will be transitioning in January, upcoming January. So that's new information for the committee. And I apologize that we were incredibly wrong. Organics, I have absolutely nothing to report, and I apologize for that. On landfill management, on our upcoming council agenda, we are, and I'm just going to quickly share my screen, and we are putting on, this will be of interest to the committee or part of your core mandate, I suppose. So we submitted our environmental assessment for solid waste compliance report that Jennifer repaired to the Ministry of Environment, MECP, and we received back our acknowledgement letter saying that it is accepted. Is that true? Yes, that it meets requirements outlined in the Environmental Assessment Acts. And as a part of that, the report needs to be made public, so it will be on the next council agenda for information. And I'll drop it into the SharePoint so you folks can peruse it. And if you have questions, Jennifer, who is here, can answer next time. So that is, yes, we are complying and we are doing our thing. That's my 3 kind of updates.
Go ahead, Martin.
There we go. I couldn't unmute. Thanks, Stephanie. Sarah, just whenever you're chatting with Prescott Russell or anybody that or you're hearing anything, my big question, I guess, is what are they going to carry on the level of service that we have in the recycling? I'm just worried that, you know, if there's a certain number of municipalities that are collecting bi-weekly, they're going to go back to once every 2 weeks instead of doing every week. And a lot of residents, I think, really appreciate. I'm just wondering if there's any, and I don't imagine you're going to know now, but if you are asking questions or if you're getting feedback from anybody that switched over, are they going to be able to keep the once per week recycling collection?
Good question. So I don't think they'll know right now. I believe the way the legislation is set up, that is that CMO or whichever pro is taking on the contract and allocation must maintain the same standard of service until 2025. So whatever's happening up in Prescott, United Counties of Prescott and Russell, will be status quo for them until really we transition. And that's that feeling of uncertainty, like we just don't know. I do want to, sorry, one more thing on the communications piece, and I'd forgot. So what I'm sharing is Circular Materials website. It's circularmaterials.ca, and under residents and communities, you go to Ontario, and when you click on change location, every community that has transitioned has a little link here. So if we look at, let's say, Township of Champlain, it would be near us. Is it going? Oh, Township of Champlain, cool. It will tell right now, so CMO for people who have transitioned have put up information about that municipality's current recycling program. So we can kind of look and see who's been winning the contracts, what they're doing. And they did have, some of them have these really nifty little, yeah, really, anyways, that's worth kind of flipping through and seeing what's going on, because some of the municipalities have really nifty little CMO created graphics. And it seems to be that they're either taking what you had or making new stuff for you. So that is one neat thing for the committee.
Go ahead, Mike.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Sarah, could you share that link with the committee members, please? I didn't know that. I don't know anything about that website, but it looks like one that we really want to keep an eye on. Thanks.
Yeah, and like just even in the time that, and like really wrap quickly before the meeting, I was curious because I knew Hawkesbury, which I guess is Prescott Russell, was also transitioning early, and I found them on the circular material, and it's very interesting because I only looked at them, and then the one that Sarah just brought up now, Champlain, same location. I mean, but different, very like a different layout, different information. So to your point, it looks like they're continuing what they've been doing, But so yeah, what does that mean for the future? Not clear yet. And so Sarah, you said you think they have to stay the same, like they have to maintain the same level of service for these sites here, Prescott Russell, that have converted or transitioned. Pardon me, they have to stay the same level of service until when exactly?
I believe it's January 1, 2025, which would be when everyone else kind of transitions. So
Oh.
unfortunately, we'll be the first batch of the certain uncertainty.
Got it. Okay. All right. So yeah, but I'm so happy to hear that we're getting support from the counties, at least even just in terms of the communication professional that they have there. So that's a good thing. And thank you, Sarah, for being our representative on that committee. I understand you're also the chair, right? So good. Aiden, did you want to say something? No. Anyone? Sorry, Mike, go ahead.
I do. Thanks, Madam Chair. I saw, Sarah, I don't know, or any of you saw the article in The Seeker talking about the producer, the transfer. So those of you who read The Seeker, I saw it online, and I had a question. Actually, I was asked this question. Why are we waiting till 2025 to make the transition? So that's something that I was asked recently.
What was the name of the article? What was the article about, Mike?
There, sorry. It was, I forget the name of it, but it was in the, I don't know if it's a paper or a website called The Seeker. It's a local one, covers Cornwall. And it was about the coming transition for the municipalities and SDNG to the producer responsibility recycling. So, and Sarah, you were mentioned as the chair of the working group.
Oh, excellent.
So,
That's fun.
Great.
I will give kudos to Ben DeHaan from the counties, who is our admin support, similar to how I am for you, and he's excellent. And I wouldn't be chair if I didn't have a solid Ben supporting.
To speak to your question about why we picked that date, I mean, because a lot of that discussion happened well before Sarah arrived. So I think it's a combination of lack of clarity on what is happening and sort of picking a date that was closer to the end of the options so that we'd have a clearer picture on what is happening. Because I don't think there's anyone, certainly like an AMO or other municipalities, who would say that there was early clarity on what producer responsibility actually meant. So I think it was kind of going with a safe timeline, more so than anything. Okay, go ahead, Martin. You wanted to add to that?
Yeah, just to add a little bit, it also works out perfectly for when our contracts are up. Where our contracts for collection now end, I think Sarah would like to know, but I think it's November, just before that. So we'll just have to extend for a month or so, and then we'll move right into the producer responsibility.
Yeah, no, that is a very good point.
yeah, Martin, I remember you saying that, I think at the last meeting. I just forgot.
I'll make maybe a quick comment on the organics. So folks might know that I was fortunate to be part of the food cycler pilot. And one thing now that with the food cyclers today, and you can also get a conversion kit, is you have to use a filter that is charcoal filter that helps with maintaining, reducing smell. And I think I made a comment last time that you can keep them quite a bit longer than when they tell you to change them. And you can, but they do eventually start to need to be changed. And so I ordered a conversion, like the new filters that you can actually unscrew and put, you can buy like carbon pellets in bulk and refill them, versus having to buy the sealed plastic unit with carbon pellets. That was how the older system was. So it's quite a bit more, a lot less waste now associated with keeping those filters fresh, and the spent carbon can, what I was explaining is it can basically, can even use it as a garden amendment. So it's a fairly inert substance once it's done its job. One other question I had, I think it's more for Jennifer and Sarah, is I know we kind of asked if there's some sort of like back of the envelope sense of what it would mean if we wanted to be able to take like compost, have an actual compost area, or what it would mean in terms of, I guess, opening up an EA, or sort of like back of the envelope idea of timeline or cost. I don't know if that's something that, again, I'm just thinking, maybe even thinking ahead, like in terms of solid waste management for the term might be important information.
I think I was trying to hide. There were two numbers. It was that one plus the number for Martin to close it all. I don't believe we've made progress. We've been focusing a lot. Is that true, Jen? Like we've been focusing a lot, sorry, on getting everything in order so that we can haul our biosolids to our landfills. That's been what our team has been working on and leaning on Jennifer for. So I don't have a number, and I don't think Jennifer's had time in the background since she's been doing all of our material testings and sampling and whatnot.
No, we haven't researched the more accurate numbers of what it would be to get organics and composting abilities at either of the landfills, nor have we looked into the cover numbers. But by all means, I mean, it's something that if you want us to look into further, we can do that and get you ideas of what costs could be based on today's numbers. But yeah, it's you definitely have to open up your ECA for the composting, and you'd have to have I want to call it leachate collection from the compost facility, and then you'd have to have a pad and so forth. So there's a lot involved. It's not just let's put it there, and there's different types of organics that you may want to collect as well, whether it's more like household organics, or if it's more like plant-based. I say plant-based, I mean like garden and tree branches and leaf and yard, and what we want to actually do with that. Because, like we said, currently it just gets put in the landfill. Whether you want to keep it separate and actually compost it, it's a different process and requirements.
So the answer is it's on our radar. It's not available today, but certainly 2023 probably. We haven't forgotten about all of your requests.
It's great. And I mean, I get that it's not like it's not an urgent issue, but it's probably data that, and even more importantly, the question that Martin had about closure costs is like as we elevate solid waste management, its priority for this term, that's probably foundational information that we're going to want to need as we move that one forward. Did anyone else have any comments or questions about the focus areas? Okay, all righty. So then that would put us to other business. If anyone has anything that they want to share. Thoughts that they might want us to cover in the future. Keep our focus items obviously on the agenda, but if there's anything else, and certainly if folks want to reach out to me ahead of the next meeting, if there's something that they think they'd like to add, that works out too. Okay, so then the last item we have on our agenda is the meetings. So our next meeting, we have all received placeholders from Belinda for September 26, 2023 at 5 p.m. So I'm hoping that date still works for everybody. My intention was, especially if we were going to have some sort, chat a bit more about strategic planning and that sort of thing, that maybe that would be definitely something we would want to do in person. but probably would probably aim to have that meeting in person regardless, but that would try this alternating between in person and virtual, particularly so like right now things are, it's coming up to the 2 busiest weekends of the year for a lot of us. So, so, all right. Well, then I'm scanning to see if anyone else wants to add anything before we adjourn. All right. Well, if I could have a mover to adjourn. Thanks. Okay, moved by Rebecca Luck. So thank you. So, and we are adjourned. Thank you so much, everyone. I really appreciate your participation, and we didn't do too bad in terms of time. Not too long.